Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning trading room. Hope you had a nice weekend. As we get back at it this week, looks like the market starting the day on a little bit of a bearish note. Here out of the open, we're looking at a little bit of a decline. I haven't looked at the overnight yet, but we are opening with a gap to the downside, so it does look as though the market pushing a little bit lower through the wee hours of the morning. So given where Friday's session finished around, where was it, around 69, or pardon me, 67.50, we got about a 35 or 40 point gap above the market. We'll see whether they try to get into that. Looks like a fairly active market so far, though. So a good bear push to start, now a little bit of a bull push. We're only a couple of minutes into the session, and already we've had some fairly substantial moves here out of the open on the hawk. Had a nice macro pullback, great follow through on that, followed with another macro pullback to the other side. Almost, well, it did, I suppose, recover that early decline. So two big moves on the hawk already. This is how Monday mornings always used to be, where you would have all the weekend volatility coming into the market. All those new orders hitting the floor off the opening bell. Personally, I like to wait a couple minutes for things to settle in. Well, we're kind of wild here this morning. Here on the Raptor, you can see we produced a #1 signal right on the opening and reversed the signal right here. Produced a #2 signal, which I don't know if I'm all that keen on shorting it just yet. this is going to be a hard edge bounce, even though technically it did not hit the hard edge. It still has all the characteristics of a hard edge bounce. And this would be our first in-sync eagle signal. It's kind of passed already, but there it is right there. For those of you who like to take that first eagle signal where everything is lining up, there you go. Great question here from Keith. Keith asks, hey Eric, how did you get that red and blue ATR line on the eagle? Let me show you. Go to your indicator window and you want to scroll down here to IWTM ATR trail. That's part of your trade manager. And double click on that and it will end up here in your indicator assortment. You don't need to make any changes to it. This was actually suggested by Mike Filigera, who likes to trade the stock market with the DTS system. So for those of you who like to trade stocks and you're wondering, can I trade stocks with DTS? Yes, absolutely you can. Mike suggested to me one day putting the ATR on there as a filter. And you know my rule for adding anything to a chart. If it helps you make a decision, then great, go use it. If it doesn't, well, get rid of it. But it does, it works as a pretty good filter. Now, Mike actually is much more aggressive with his signals than I am. I still like to see my signals come in sync. I like to use the ATR as a filter. Mike, however, will start taking these signals so long as they are in sync with the filter. So these signals here, even though they're against the band, he will still be buying those. I should also mention, though, that Mike tends to have a tighter profit objective. But that's something for you to consider if you're looking at using the ATR on your Eagle. Now, if you would like to use your ATR on your other tools, you can do that as well. Like I said, the Trade Manager simply uses the ATR to calculate where it should go. So you can do the same thing just by changing your ATR parameters to 2.0 and 14, and it will still work as that filter. You can see this is the exact pattern that that red and blue line would make, but in this case, it's on the Falcon. But like I said, the only reason for adding anything to your chart is to help you make a trading decision. You will never, ever be able to filter everything out of the market. Scott asks, so what are the settings to the Eagle? Just the defaults. Whatever the default ATR is, I believe it's 2.0 and a 14 period. If you haven't noticed already, I'm not a big one on tweaking. I don't tweak a whole lot. Maybe I should. Okay, we got ourselves a very, very sideways market here this morning. And it looks like the sellers are going to try to push back. They're now a sell signal. I'm probably going to give them a couple of ticks here. Can I cover above the high? Yes, I can. I don't want to enter too early on this one. Let's see, we got a little bit of a trend line developing here. I don't want to get caught on a little trend line push through. I want to see a solid break, so I'm going to give it a couple of ticks. And now we have a second push entry opportunity, so that's kind of confirming what's going on here. I'm looking for a resumption of the larger downtrend. Even though technically the number 2 signal is a counter trend signal, it's actually with trend when it comes to the big overall trend, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of volatility here this morning, so I might try to run it out. Still early. Oh, almost quarter to the hour. My least favorite time of the day to trade. I'll extend my break even a little bit. Of course, we're trading near a whole number, 6,700, so that's always going to cause a little bit of problem for the marketplace. And so far, a solid move lower. Get my trade to break even. Oh, come on. No. We had such a nice start. Let's go. Come on. If I can ride out this little swing here, if we see the market trade below this 6705 zone, it will have some room to go. Come on. You can do it. No, you can't. Well, I could just park another order down here. We'll see. If they get close to the lows again, I'll consider that. Otherwise, at the moment, it looks like we may be maybe going to make a run at the top end. Maybe get into that opening range gap after all. Lots of opportunities here on the Hawk this morning. My goodness, maybe I should just be focusing on that. We must have had a half a dozen scalping opportunities already on the Hawk as the market waffles back and forth. Looks like most of the first micro macro crosses worked out. This one good. This one, looks like it got low enough, just low enough to hit its profit objective. This one, however, not so good. That one would have resulted in a loss. Chances are you did not run a stop that deep. We don't necessarily want a lot of signals though, right? We want signals that we can bank on. All right, here's a late filter entry now in the Falcon. That tends to be a fairly reliable signal. And we have an opportunity here for a second push entry on that signal as well. We got a first micro macro cross kind of building to the short side. So the Falcon and the Hawk definitely bearish. The Raptor's starting to get a little bit of bearishness coming into it as well. But it doesn't look as though they are ready to commit just yet. Okay, we're getting the market in a little bit of a sideways range. With the bottom end of the trading channel, well, down here at the 6705 zone. The top end up here. So there's an OCO type order that you could do. All right, they filled me to the long side. We'll get a stop in play. I'll hold my stop there. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of a flinch again. Oh, come on. Oh, you scoundrels. All right, well, let's see. We're going to get a follow-up signal here. I could just We've got the warning dot. There's the signal. Where's the next resistance zone? Right here. I suppose I could extend my break even a little bit as well, seeing how I got tagged a couple times there on an early reverse. Well, they're quite sticky here near the high of the morning. Near 67.30. Wow. So I'll bring my break-even target in. If the market fails at this point, it's probably going to try to run lower. So if I can get another push higher, I'm going to start bringing my stop in a little bit, I think. Well, maybe they are going to break through. Maybe I shouldn't crowd it. I'll put my stop back to where it was, my break-even target. so I'm going to go with the parabolic stop now. And hopefully it will hold me in for this little bit of a rally that we're looking at. As prices attempt to get back to the median line and fill that gap from this morning. So far, really good follow through on this number 3 signal here from the Raptor. Oh, come on. You're so close. Okay, thanks, Dan. Dan says we got significant news coming up in a couple of minutes at the top of the hour. It looks as though the market may have already adjusted for what it thinks the news will be. Okay, well, that was a decent little run up. No problems there. Didn't quite make the primary, or pardon me, the median line on this leg up, but that's not to say that they won't make another push. And try to get up there. We'll have to wait and see. Well, this is top of the hour now, so this must be the news hitting the market. Had a little bit of volatility come back there. The Falcon with a quick little trend change signal here. The Raptor also with a number 2 signal. That's the reversal signal, the counter trend. The target for that would be the hard edge of the trading band. And the Hawk still in yellow bars, and the Eagle still very bullish. And the Falcon now backing up that trend change signal there with a late filter entry signal to the short side. So the Falcon starting to look a little bit more bearish, as is the Raptor. And the Hawk now working a first micro macro cross lower. So like I said, things starting to get maybe a little more bearish. We'll see. So very solid bounce off of the hard edge of the trading band. I've mentioned this before, but whenever the market encounters the hard edge of the band, we always anticipate a reaction. It may not always be a big reaction, but there will be a reaction that you need to take into consideration. The Eagle band, of course, here on the Raptor as well. So same thing, when the market starts getting to that hard edge, whether it's the fast cloud or the slower cloud, you need to anticipate that a reaction is coming. All right, so we have a, oops, is that going to run off on me? It is too. I was just going to say we have a cloud crossover signal here. So we have an opportunity to buy on the Raptor, and it's kind of taken off on me. Are they going to give me a second push opportunity? Well, there it is right there. Oops, wrong button. I should actually give it another tick or two. We're so close. Okay, good. They didn't grab my order yet. I'll enter just above there. So this now just a follow-up on that number one signal, second push opportunity, however you want to take a look at it. And there we go. We've traded back to the median line. That was our target for the original trade. Come on, give me one more push. One more push up. Okay, I'm sorry, I chickened out there. I didn't quite mean to hit my break even just yet. The market's probably going to go up here and hit my my profit target, but I tried to hover my mouse here over the break even button, and I ended up hitting the break even. So here they come now, and this push should bring us through here and actually find the profit target, or what was to be the profit target. wonder if that's it for this leg, though. Things starting to get a little bit more of a bearish flavor. We might see another short-term pullback here. Or are the sellers actually ready to resume the downtrend? Okay, so now here we on the Raptor, we've got a number 2 signal followed by a number 3 signal. If we come back here with yet another number 2 signal, that could be a fairly inviting short. The best number 2 signals are going to be those that are on the heels of a number 3. The reason being is the number 3 is a hard edge bounce. So we've encountered the hard edge. We anticipate a reaction. In other words, for the trend to continue. If it can't, well, then we've had our test of the extreme and pretty much shown us that the buyers are exhausted and that the market may head lower. All right, well, there you go. Hooray. The buyers pushing on through, hitting what was the intended profit objective on the earlier trade. Nope. No sellers yet. Wow, look at that rally. That is just a crazy follow through. Yeah, I know, Scott. I'm asking myself the same thing. Scott says, Eric, why aren't you in on that rally? I know. Darn it. Look at that. That's beautiful. I think I got a little bit anxious for a possible counter trend move because I knew we're back at the resistance, right? We're back at the median line. So this is what I saw unfolding. We're back at the median line. The market made a nice little bounce there, came back, produced a number 2 signal. Things were starting to shape up like they were going to be a little bit weaker. Here's the number 3 signal, and I thought, okay, if the market fails at this point, I can short, but of course it never did. What I should have done in hindsight is I could have done another OCO order. I could have parked an order above, had an order below, and then just let the market decide which way it wants to go, which it obviously did. That's what happens when you try to predict what the market's going to do next. You kind of end up on the wrong side, well, or left out entirely, because the market rarely will do what you think it's going to do. That's a trading fact. Well, we got ourselves a crazy strong uptrend right now. You could, when the market is like this, when it's in breakaway mode, you can really use any of the follow-up signals as an excuse to enter. The problem I'm having with this trade right now is the risk, the stop placement. Where am I going to put the stop? And, you know, it's almost that kind of situation where you just place your stop and hope for the best, hope that it's not too tight. Let's see here. Scott asks, looking at the ATR lines on the Eagle, you see how the ATR turned red a couple of times? This passed long and the filter stayed green, kind of like a late filter, or like a Falcon late filter entry signal. So I think what Scott's referring to is right here. Yeah, maybe. I've never really paid that close attention to it, Scott. Usually the way I use it is, for instance, here, let's take a look at this signal right here. So it's a red bar buy. It's a high probability signal, but it's on the other side of the ATR. So what I would do is I would either enter on the other side of the ATR, like that, or I would let the market trade through the ATR, and then I would use that bar that broke the ATR as my signal bar. So I would enter like that. The advantage to doing that is that you can usually run your stop under the last swing. So that's the way I've always used it. But that's an interesting observation. One thing, however, when the market is on a tear like it is this morning, all your indicators are going to work. You can throw any indicator on here. You can put stochastics or MACD or whatever. They're all working when the market is trending. So it's a very good observation. It's something we're going to have to take a look at other times. Like right now, we're getting a late filter entry on the Falcon. Oh no, I was going to say we need to see if it coincides with the Falcon late filter entry, but that's not necessarily true. It won't necessarily coincide with the Falcon. Because of course the programming is different. Because the market is so bullish right now, even though it's very likely we're going to see a pullback move here, and here is your soft edge sell enabling you to short. I think buyers are going to be looking for any excuse to buy the market up. Any tick lower, I think it will be accompanied with buying. If we get back here to where this last breakout was, around the 67.70 area, which should be fairly close to the hard edge, I could see another rally. Right now, you know, we've got these follow-up signals up here. We've got the counter trend signal. We have the late filter entry signal here on the Falcon, also at the primary resistance zone. So you could look to enter just above there. Again, I wouldn't crowd it. maybe give it a couple of ticks, and you can see, given the ranges this morning, it's going to be tough to get in there. So, you know, if you thought the market was going to make another very quick move up, you could just park an order there. We're working a possible trend change lower now. So I guess I would actually scrub the buy order. We'll get rid of that. Here now, that type of situation that Scott was pointing out, where the ATR out of sync, the filter in sync. So it's like the late filter entry on the Falcon, but not quite. Here the ATR is going out of sync. And you can see if this bar finishes at 67.86, there you go, the ATR just flipped over. So everything is in sync again. And here we are back at the highs. So this here, even though it didn't hit the hard edge, is very close to a hard edge bounce. And sometimes with those types of trades, if you deem it close enough, well, it may be close enough. So I'm trying to take advantage here of the crazy strong uptrending market, which is floundering at the moment. Come on, get up there. Give me one more push. There we go. Come on, get through there. Where's the next resistance line? Ooh, all the way up here, 68.26. That's doable, by the way this market is today. Need one more little bullish push, and then I will, if the trade doesn't get to break even, I will force it to break even. Here, I can actually move my break even to the top of this bar. There we go. And if they go, they go. If they don't, well, I'll take the break even. You can do it. Get up there. Ooh, I so want to try to run this one out. It's just the crazy trend. I'm going to tighten my stop here a little bit. We'll squeeze this trade now. There. Locked in like 30, 40 bucks in profit, and we'll see whether they'll hit the high or the low. Hooray for me, hit the high. It is very likely, folks, that we could see the market move here to 68.26. We are in a very, very strong trend. But I'm not going to complain. I'm having a good morning so far, so I will be content to bank my profit. Scott says, let it run. Julian, she's looking 68.05. I think that's a very doable target, Julian. 68.05, just above where the market's trading right now. Great question here from Rick. Rick asking, not wanting to overuse indicators, which is not good, but would fast stochastics help in seeing something in the market in times like these and helping to use the Raptor? Well, yes and no. Let's throw fast stochastics on here. Mike Filigera, actually the only guy I ever met who uses fast stochastics. There we go. And we'll just go with the defaults. Okay, now the traditional way of using stochastics is overbought, oversold, right? So when the market emerges out of the lower end of the trading band, you look to buy. When it comes out of the upper end of the trading band, you look to sell. That's one way to look at it. Other traders actually consider the overbought, oversold areas trending. So when the market enters this upper band, they look to buy, and when it enters the lower band, they look to sell. I don't know, Rick. It's like I said, you will never ever filter out all the bad signals, right? All these indicators are all mathematical algorithms deriving their computations from what happened before. If this helps you make a trading decision, then yes, by all means, use it. I can't really get a handle on how I would use the fast stochastics, but like I said, Mike Filigera is the only guy I've ever met who uses them. I suppose you could use the K-line and D-line crossovers as signals as well. They're just going to confirm, I think, for the most part, what you see going on your Raptor chart. And I'm not trying to talk you out of using fast stochastics. If you see value in it, then please go ahead, continue to use it. But I'm just looking at this here, and anytime we had a signal on the Raptor, it was certainly confirmed with what was going on in the stochastic indicator. I don't know. Like I say, the final criteria is always, does it help you make a trading decision? Because, hey, folks, at the end of the day, it is your money. Yeah, Rick, you got it exactly right. Rick says, I guess, to each his own. And that's absolutely correct. You know, people send me their snapshots of their charts, their Raptor charts. And, you know, sometimes they'll have MACD underneath. Sometimes they'll have, what's a good one? Maybe something like a Donchian channel. And they'll have a MACD underneath. Where's my MACD? There we go. And you know, they'll send me a snapshot of their chart, and it will look like this. And that's fine. That's fine. You know, if using a Donchian channel helps you decide that this is a valid sell signal, then go for it. If using the MACD, by the way, is a very useful indicator. You know, if the zero line break and the MACD crossover helps you get on board that buy signal, then by all means, go for it. But even here with the MACD, you'll see that not all the signals are going to be valid. Like here, the MACD crossed early, crossed the zero line back here. Now we're producing a number 2 signal. Does that mean you would take that number 2 short? If you can say definitively, yes, absolutely, I would, then go ahead, keep using your MACD. If you're looking at it and you say, well, I don't know because it didn't do this, that, or the other thing, then goodbye, MACD. Right? Because it's easy enough to get confused when you're trading. It's easy enough to look at your chart and try to figure out what the heck is going on. What's the market going to do next? It's hard enough without adding a few more things to try to think about. What is it that psychologists say? The human mind can only comprehend or hold one thought at a time, and we can only do things in threes, or something of that nature. I probably got it wrong. But the point is, don't make things too complicated. That's my point. Complicated will not necessarily make you money. Julian, nice job, 55 points and going. That's a huge move. Well done. And I'll put a carton of eggs in the fridge, eh? Keep the lights on for another month. All right, a little bit of a bearish push now, which I suppose isn't a real big surprise, probably a little bit of profit taking. As tempting as it is to go counter trend, I think I'm going to avoid that. be waiting here a little bit for another decent buying opportunity. We'll see. The counter trend opportunities, you can see, were fairly solid. Here we got the first micro macro cross on the hawk. Note it developed after a red bar buy signal. These red bar buy signals on the hawk, not to be confused with the red bar buy signal on the eagle, tend to develop near the end of a trend. So when you see them developing on the hawk, they're actually a sign of weakness. And usually you won't get more than two within a trend. So that first one sometimes just results in a kick in the pants for the buyers. It's a wake-up call for the buyers. So if you guys are going to rally the market, well, you better do it quick because the sellers are trying to knock the market down. That second one is very often the death knell for the buyers. Well, I shouldn't say that because the buyers have this market today, but it may result in a short-term move lower. And there we had our first micro macro cross following up on that. So again, loads of opportunities here in the hawk. I can't trade them all that fast. My nerves won't take it anymore, but there are a lot of opportunities there. Rick asks, where can I go to find out how much the payout or loss is on the per tick, per point on all the markets and instruments? I tend to go to the source, Rick. So that would mean for most of the markets we're looking at here, it would be the CME group. Oops. And that's their website right here. Look at that, Bitcoin already trading 8,500. I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's not anything. But okay, that's a whole other story. So what you would do is you would find your market of choice. So let's say you type in NASDAQ. There you go, NASDAQ futures, E-mini. And you highlight your contract, and it has all the contract information, margin, specs, volumes, everything you want. And here is the point value. All that information. And if you're confused about one, very often you can find it via a Google search. If you want to know what is the tick value of crude oil, well, good old Google will come to the rescue. And if Google can't help you out, well, you can always shoot me an email. But as I said, I tend to go to the horse's mouth. So if I need to know, I'll go to the exchange and find out. Well, here we are with a overall very bullish market, a little bit of a downtrend here at the moment. I'm having a good day. I don't know how many more trades I'm going to attempt. Not quite having a Julian kind of day, though. Wow, 55 points. She's rocking it. Nice move. So back into the hard edge, anticipating a reaction. Very likely we're going to see a test of the extreme way up here at 68.15. That does give us a little bit of a buying opportunity. Yeah, Rick asks, is that considered below the hard edge? Yes, it is, but that's okay. Sometimes you will see that the eagle, when it's in trend, this is actually a bad example. Let's see if I can find you another one. It will drift through the hard edge a little bit, or sometimes a lot, so long as the band itself does not change. Right? It's more the band that we're interested in. And even now, in such a strong trending market, technically the band has gone bearish, but just barely. Right? I wouldn't necessarily avoid buying the next red bar buy only because the band was technically bearish there. I might give it a second push entry or something of that nature to try to stay on the right side of the market. Now the band getting a little bit more bearish, and we're actually producing a sell signal. My concern here is the lack of a test of the extreme. Well, maybe they're going to go. Yeah, they're slipping lower there. Well, they're dragging their feet a little. Like I said, those buyers were really, really strong on the last move up. And the bulls will be looking for any downtick as an excuse to buy. Yeah, Rick asks, is this zigzag time? It very well might be. I don't think the sellers, given us the strength of the buyers, I don't think we're going to see a huge move lower from the sellers, in spite of the fact that the market on Thursday and Friday was fairly bearish. Rather, I think, if anything, we may enter a little bit of a sideways trading range, which is characteristic after a big move. get the big move, and then you get the sideways trading. You can see what I mean about the buyers taking advantage of any downtick for an excuse to buy. That's what we saw right there on that last little run up. The hawk producing a signal. Not so easy to get on the, well, the eagle did have a red bar buy, but the band was contrary. So really, that's the kind of trade that you can find in hindsight, not so easy real time. And in hindsight, you could have said, yeah, that's kind of a number two. The market failed to head lower, produced a buy signal. But again, real time, very, very difficult to do. You're better off just waiting, watching and waiting and waiting and watching. Like I said, I've already got a fairly decent day going, so I may not do another trade here, but definitely bullish, looking for maybe a double pullback here on the Raptor. We do have a macro pullback here already on the Hawk. Falcon now out of sync. The Eagle may come back here with yet another buy signal, so there should be some buying opportunities as the morning progresses, or maybe early afternoon. Julian's next target, she says 68.12. That's, I'm with you, Julian. I think that's totally doable. That would just bring us back here toward the highs of the morning. There now, the number one signal, the crossover buy. And are we going to get a second push entry on it? You could even just give it a couple of ticks. This now the proper second push entry. So you could enter above that. You can tell I'm a little bit gun shy here. Well, let's see if we get the follow through. Oh, got the break even. Don't stop now. Give it a push with the mouse. Get it up there. Come on. So I ended up taking the follow-up signal. Darn it. Had I taken the signal when it produced, I would have hit my profit objective. Oh well. think my stops are going to prove to be just a little bit too cozy on that one. Yeah, there they go. Yeah, so would have made my profit target just a little too quick on that break even. Or a little too late getting into the trade, take your pick. The buyers, like I said, they have room to move here. If we go back into Friday's session, excuse me while I scroll back here. We were actually higher than this in Friday's session before the huge decline. You can see we were way up here, 68.60. So even though today's session very, very bullish, we still got a ways to go to get to 68.60. 68.40 would be about halfway, so that's doable, I would think. That would be a huge day for the buyers. First obstacle, the high du jour, which is right here, 68.13 half. What's likely to happen is another little bit of a pullback here, another retest of the hard edge. And then if the buyers are going to rally, well, they're going to rally. And if not, then I think we can call it a day. I guess that's looking like a bit of a double top then. That would explain why the market had a little bit of a push lower. This attested the extreme now of that high. So the sellers are thinking a top is in. We'll see whether that's going to be a bull trap. Hey, way to go, Peter. Peter says, good morning, Eric. Well, good morning, Peter. Peter says, I missed the first 30 minutes because I slept in. Must be the Super Bowl party. That was actually a very entertaining game yesterday, I have to say. I don't follow the NFL that closely, and I just happened to be near a television when the Super Bowl was on, but it was a barn burner. Peter says, I've been playing the YM because it seems to make a clearer chart. For those of you unfamiliar with the symbol, the YM is the mini Dow, also a $5 instrument. And Peter's right. It is, there is less noise on the mini Dow. The YM will tend to be a little less volatile than the NASDAQ, which can be a good thing. Peter says, just did 2 trades for $300. Nicely done, Peter. Good job. 1 sell and 1 buy. Sun's up in Mexico and already 28 degrees Celsius. That's a beautiful day. Making money and enjoying the sunshine. For those of you in the States, 28 Celsius is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, well, I'm not keen on shorting. Nicely done, Julian. Julian says it's beautiful in Palm Springs too. My feet are in the pool. We've got friends down in Palm Springs right now. They've been asking us to come for a visit, so I don't know if we're going to head down this year or not. We're actually having a very mild winter here on the left coast. It hasn't been too hard to take at all, although it has been a little too wet to golf, which is kind of cramping my style a bit. All right, we're getting a little bit of blowback here from the sellers. And will it stick? Or are the buyers going to run them over? I'm thinking it's going to be more of the latter. I think the buyers are baiting the sellers into trying to short, and then they're going to climb into their steamroller and give them a what for. The Hawk, not a lot of follow through right now. A lot of yellow bars here on the Hawk, a little bit of sideways mess going on. The Raptor will be one of the tools to give us an early signal. You can see here the buyers actually producing a number 2 signal and a couple number 2s. You could treat this as a second push on a number 2 signal and already have your trade set up as so. That is certainly doable. And now we've got a second push on this number 2, so you can adjust your trade slightly if you chose. Pardon me. Like I said, I'm not all that keen on shorting right now. The sellers may well push the market down, but after that run up that we saw today, I don't know. I may have to stay with the buyers a little bit longer. We are producing you can see a number 3 signal to short. We produced the cloud crossover signal way back here, which is why this is now a number 3 signal instead of a number 1, but it's essentially a number 1 signal as well. Taking a bit of a chance here on an early entry rather than waiting for the signal to complete. Well, the buyer or the sellers making a decent push lower there. I didn't think they had it in them. All right, we'll scrub that order for the moment. Oh, here they come again. So once more, we have an OCO type situation where we could just bracket the ranges. We can see where the buyers and sellers are at, right? We can short below the low, buy above the high. There now the early number 1 signal. And we'll get a stop in play here. Oh, Julian says she's long at 91. If we can hang on through this swing, then there's a chance. There's a good chance that the market will try to recover to the high of the morning. but we definitely need to hold these lows through here. And right now, they're giving me a little bit of heat on the trade. Where's the next support line? Oh, way up here, 68.26. Darn dyslexia. Well, I'll put a buy order, pardon me, a sell order up there as a profit target, although I probably will adjust that if this trade does get a little bit of traction. And I may extend my profit or my break even a little bit as well. There we go. Get a little bit closer to those highs. Oh, I see. We kind of drifted into the lunch hour here a little bit. That's kind of adding a little bit of a sideways grind to the day. All right, folks. Well, I think we're going to button up shop here for the moment. My objective on the trade, if I don't get tagged, is to obviously get it to a break even. And, well, my home run target would be the 68.26 zone. But I would probably, if I get up here to break even, I'll probably start running my stops a little bit more aggressively. All right, I will see you again tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.